This is the frontal bone, the two parietal bones, the occipital bone, the external occipital protuberance. It helps support the body weight of the head. This is the mastoid process. The styloid process is under here. The external acoustic meatus, the squamous part is right here. The petrous part of the temporal bone contains the external auditory meatus. This is the sphenoid bone. The cranial nerve passes through the superior orbital fissure. Inside of the sphenoid bone is the lesser wing and the greater wing. The cranial nerve passes through the optic canal. The ethmoid bone is right in here. The crystal gallia is the attachment site for the meningitis that cover the brain, and those are in the ethmoid bone. The filia passes through the holes of the cribriform plate. The coronal suture, it consists of the frontal and parietal bones, and it would be right in here. The sagittal suture contains the two parietal bones, and it would be right here. The lumbar suture contains the parietal bones and the occipital bones, so it would be the parietal and occipital, so it would be right here. And the squamous suture contains the parietal and temporal bones, and it is here. This is the maxilla and alveolar process, the nasal, the zygomatic process and temporal bone from the zygomatic arch. Well, they form the zygomatic arch. The ethmoid, and the two bones that form the nasal septum are the vomer and the ethmos. The mandible, parts of the mandible are the body, which is in the lower jaw area. The angle is a little bit above that area. The ramus is in this area, and the mandibular condyle is in this area. You can see it. And the mandibular notch is like the circular part right in there. And the coronoid process would be this little area. Oh, if I get a good picture, right in here. Okay. Now we're going to be moving on to the vertebrae. The cervical vertebrae consist of these. The thoracic vertebrae consist of these. The lumbar vertebrae, and the sacral vertebrae. The cervical vertebrae has 7 vertebrae, which are the first 7. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae. The spinous process is this little bone. The transverse process would be here, and the intervertebral forum is in here. You can see it, and the body of the septum would be this area. There are 5 lumbar vertebrae. The sacrum has 5 as well, and the 5 vertebrae are fused to form that bone. Now we're going to move on to the sternum, which is these 2 bones here. Okay, the manubrium is the top, the middle portion is the body, the xiphoid is the tip, and the jugular notch is like the curved area. I'm going to move on to the ribs. The first seven ribs are true ribs. The vestibular neural rib, I guess, the 8th through the 10th rib, down here, 8th through the 10th rib, are the false ribs, vestibulocondylar ribs, and the last, the 11th and 12th rib are the floating ribs. The head of the rib would be in here. The neck is right next to it, and the tubercle is the rest of like the body of the rib. Ribs 3 through 9 articulate with the thoracic vertebrae. And that ends it.